get started?
I'm Jay Gillen. I'm with the Pledge of Resistance. It's nonsense that she shares our goal. She could share our goal by being with us when we're trying to rally the citizens of Maryland to stop this war. She's not trying to stop the war so that there's not another day of our soldiers being in somebody else's country. She's not trying to do that. She's trying to somehow or other balance everybody's political interests with the interests of the war machine, with the interests of extremists. And if she was, she'd get herself on television saying, stop this war. I haven't seen her on television saying, stop this war. When is she going to do that? When will she speak up and say the things that we've been saying for years? When is she going to say that we should close the torture camps? When is she going to say the citizens and soldiers in Iraq who don't belong there should get out to protect them? When will she say this in public? We've been asking for years, and she refuses to make a public stance in favor of ending this war.
I'm Diane Whitner.
You're representing a particular group?
Chesapeake Citizens. And there are brave members of Congress who, unlike Senator Mikulski, have put forward legislation to protect the troops and support the troops by bringing them home as soon as possible and by getting the United States out of Iraq. Members of the Progressive Caucus, such as Representative Lynn Woolsey, Maxine Waters, the Out of Iraq Caucus, and Barbara Lee. This war has cost Maryland $7 billion. And what we could do with that money instead in this country, we could have insured 244 million children for a year. That's health insurance. We could have hired 7 million teachers in public schools. We could have built 3,600,000 public housing units, and we could have given college scholarships, a 4-year scholarship to a public university, to 19 million young people with the money we have spent on this war. Thank you.
Allwine with the Pledge of Resistance. And I also ran for U.S. Senate against Senator Mikulski 2 years ago simply because I am so outraged by not only what's happening in Iraq, but what's happening in this country. And I continue to be disappointed and outraged by Senator Mikulski's unwillingness to take a leadership position on this. We have passed out pictures of most of the Marylanders killed in Iraq, with their names, their ages, how they were killed, who they are. These are some pictures of wounded Iraqis. This is what we're talking about. This is what we want her to stop. And you know what? Playing political games with this is wrong. I do not understand how she cannot make the connection between continuing to vote for more of this when she can vote to bring them home with all their body armor and all their vehicles and no more deaths of our servicemen and women or Iraqis. This is what we're talking about.
If everybody thought it would.
Becca.
My name's Rebecca Hansen. I'm just a regular Baltimore resident and a mother of a little boy who, even at age 4, doesn't understand why this war is happening. I teach high school students. They look at me and say, why is this happening? Where is our government? How can this be? And I'm at a loss to explain it. I nursed my child, who's now 4, watching Colin Powell before the UN lead us into this war. I had nightmares about what it would mean. And I kept saying to myself, surely our Congress will put the brakes on this. I have worked as a volunteer for Mikulski and with congressional campaigns. I have handed out stickers for her at various events. Every time she's run, I've supported her. I've always believed that she was a fighter. And I want to see her leadership. And to me that means writing op-eds. It means being out there. It means being a spokesperson. It doesn't mean saying, let's wait another 18 months to end this war. It's an illegal war. It was a mistake. It's a fiasco. It doesn't serve American interest. We need to get out of there, and we need to do it now before any mother's child, whether that mother is Iraqi or that mother is American, no one should lose their life in this war. No one's child should be taken away.
these days.
I just,
Another veteran.
I'm a Vietnam veteran. I was in Saigon when the Tet Offensive occurred. I was very lucky. I'm Dave Schott. I live in Baltimore. I live in Northwood. I was very lucky I wasn't killed by friendly fire at that moment. I can think back at that time when I bicycled from my I was living with 5 officers, and I biked back on a road that was full of bullet cartridges and burned out trucks, and I was lucky I survived that. And it was only a few years ago that I realized that Tan Son Nhut Air Base, which was one of the busiest airports in the 60s, busier than O'Hare, from that air base and from our naval bombardment, in a book called The Art of War by Jonathan Sherrill, it said that 55,000 people in Quang Tri province a year were killed in 66, 67, 68, and 75% of the houses were destroyed. And I tell you, when I think of our aircraft launching missiles into homes in Fallujah, and a mother huddling with her people, her kids, and thinking about that missile as being aimed for their house, and we're talking about friendly fire and regular fire, it's killing civilians. We know the Hopkins study, if you take a look at the Alumni magazine, over 655,000, and they document this, have been killed, whether it's 30 per soldier or 60. We know a lot of Iraqi citizens are being killed. Now listen, I want you to take a look at a book called Enemy Combatant by Mohsen Beg. This was a Pakistani Englishman who was kept in detention for 3 years. This is just another one of the reckless aspects of this war. I mean, we can talk about the lack of habeas corpus in Guantanamo, the treatment of prisoners in Kandahar or Bagram. He was almost held in isolation basically for 2 years before he met with other prisoners. He's released now. He's back in England. He was supposed to be a member of Al-Qaeda. You know, I bet you as much we don't know about our arms. The waste is going from Halliburton. Where is this money going to? The money that's supposed to be going for a police academy, there's no police academy. There's $43 million they spent for a police academy. It's not being used. So we got reckless expenditures. We know that. It's well documented. If you take a look at the Secretary of Treasurer, who wrote his Price of Loyalty, he said at the first cabinet meeting that dealt with international affairs, they had 2 things on the agenda. But tax cuts was a domestic regime change in Iraq. And we have a motive here. This was January 2001. This was 9 months before 9/11 even happened. So whether it's Patty Murray, the senator from Washington, just spoke up today about troops going back, being sent back to Iraq that haven't healed from their wounds, whether it's lack of training, whether it's a lack of understanding of what this war is about. There are a lot of tribal aspects of this war. This is why Muslims from Saudi Arabia, from Jordan, from other countries, from Afghanistan, have come to Iraq to fight our troops. I mean, this is a deep problem. It goes to bigger issues in the Middle East. We know this. And we need leadership in our country that reflects the fact that like 73% of the people are against this war. I mean, 53% are for a withdrawal. It's very soon. Barbara Lee says let's pull them out by the end of by December 2007. Dennis Kucinich has a peace plan. You can look at it. I think he wants immediate withdrawal. There are plans out there. There's thoughts. Why doesn't Senator Mikulski have that? And finally, I mean, I think we all realize we're not going to have a change unless we have change in leadership in this country. And I just did a Google on the web. There is not one person that says anything about impeachment investigation. We've had lies. We've had the Downing Street memo. We've had people speaking up in England. You just look everywhere you want. We know we got so many issues. And where's the money going? Do we have money to help with the Katrina relief? We know what happened to Katrina with our own citizens. George Bush is in Latin America now talking about dignity and humanity, and people are still living in trailers in New Orleans, in Louisiana. So we need leadership. We need responsive government. Is this a democracy, or are we returning to a feudal situation where the king dictates things and we don't have any people speaking up to defend the average person in this country? We know what the voice of the people are. We need response.
Plan